Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Secretary Zinke, welcome back to the committee. Nice to have you here. Looking at the big picture, I have to say I have real concerns with the administration's entire fiscal year 18 budget request. The President's approach to budgeting prioritizes defense spending, around which we know we do have to make some additional investments, but does so at the expense of many other national priorities, including those at your department. As your testimony indicates, and as we on this committee know so well, Interior has a very broad mission and plays a critical role in the lives of all our constituents, managing our treasured public parks and public lands, overseeing development of U.S. energy supplies, understanding and reacting to the impacts of climate change, serving as the largest supplier and manager of water in the West, and working closely with 566 federally recognized tribes. All this has to be managed in behalf of all Americans. Cutting Interior's budget by well over $1 billion, approximately 10%, while not as bad as some other departments, nevertheless, it will significantly hamper and certainly hamper the department's ability to meet these many responsibilities. As you well know, the National Park Service is facing many challenges. You've referenced some of them, including responding to disturbing reports of sexual harassment in the workplace. Representative McEachin has referenced that. There have been a number of troubling Inspector General reports and newspaper stories regarding a number of incidents of sexual harassment at some of our most well-known national parks. We on this committee have worked across the aisle to make sure the Park Service was taking these reports seriously, which is why we recommended that the Park Service conduct a service-wide anonymous survey that hopefully will shed light on the extent of this problem. In my service on the Armed Services Committee, examining the alarming incidents of sexual assault and sexual harassment in the military, we have learned that such cases do not happen in isolation, and the survey can serve as an important first step to better understand the scope of the problem. In fact, under the previous administration, they reached out to the Defense Department as they were crafting this survey. So, Mr. Secretary, can you provide an update on the status of this survey and the Park Service's work analyzing the results? And also, in responding to that question, it's my understanding that the Park Service will also be conducting a second survey in July to include seasonal employees who were not included in the first survey. I want to be sure that that's correct and moving forward.
I share your concerns about sexual harassment, intimidation in the workplace. I think the overall survey of job satisfaction reflects that something's wrong. We did complete the survey. We'll gladly share the results when we get the review done. We are doing a second survey. You are correct in that on seasonal employees. I attribute a lot to leadership, and I take my job enormously serious on being a commander of what I see as a 70,000 member command. We have a lot of good people. I'm surprised, maybe not surprised, not the right way. I am honored a lot of times to go in these places and you see really dedicated people. There's some frustration though. Some frustration is, again, they feel like they've been micromanaged. They feel like the job description doesn't match the job execution. They're spending a lot of time in the office rather than the field. They feel like the resources in the front line have been pared down, which they are correct in lieu of building these larger regions and headquarters. And it's kind of been when you see a broken window, go past it.
Well, Mr. Secretary, I appreciate you're looking at the broader issues around the culture of the National Park Service, but as we've learned so well in the armed services and all the work that's been done there to address the egregious issues of sexual assault and harassment, it takes both a top-down approach and a bottom-up approach, and there are unique ways in which one has to address the situation. So I hope that you'll commit to coming forward to letting us know the results of both surveys so that we can have a better understanding of how the Park Service is going to specifically address the issue of sexual harassment. Would you commit to that?
I absolutely, and I think this is going to take working together. It's not just the Park Service, it's BLM. It's, you know, we talk a lot about the Park Service because most of America sees the interior through the eyes of the parks, but we have, you know, Bureau of Reclamation and Wildlife and BIA and all the different bureaus that make up the interior family.
So you're suggesting it's a broader issue throughout the Department of Interior?
I'm suggesting there's indications it's a broader issue than just the parks. Certainly BLM has had issues on it. I'm aware of other issues within it. So I think it may be department-wide. I think that would be a fair assessment, but it's going to take us working together. Some of it might be legislative to make sure that a voice is heard and make sure that the voice is protected when that voice is heard, and also, you know, culturally do some hard thinking about what we should be, what our goals are. I think the military overall has done a good job with it, but there are imperfections in the military, and there are improvements that the military could do. And I don't think there's one person that knows all the answers, but certainly working together, I think we can carve a good path, because I know where we want to be. We want to make sure we have an environment that's free of harassment, free of intimidation, that allows our employees to be the very best they can be.
Well, I agree with you.
Ladies,
Wanting is not always enough, so I look forward to hearing how you plan to address it.
The gentleman from California.